Hello, everybody. It's delighted to see so many of you. I know that I am the only thing between you and the bar now, but this is going to be a fantastic session. And I would like to welcome to the stage Nayara, who is joining me from the Cabinet Office in Biscay, so from Spain. And I think online we also have Danielle Dupin, who is from the States. Hi, Danielle. Lovely to meet you. So Danielle Dupin is the co-founder and the Global Executive Director for Age Tech Innovation at Agency, which I've had the pleasure of visiting several times. So, delighted to have the panelists with us. So yeah, as George said, this is an international agenda. We heard, I thought it was a brilliant way to start by that figure around the billion, it was 8 billion people now globally, but of course, 1.5 billion over 65, 1 in 4 in the US, and are over 1 in 4 over 65. The over 80 set to triple to 143 million. So this is truly an international agenda. And as George said, at the National Innovation Centre for Ageing, we very much work globally and internationally. So Voice now has chapters of citizens in Singapore, in Italy, in the US, in Canada, in Australia, China, Taiwan, and that reflects the fact that as innovators, people have got products and services that they need in their lives, and we've really got to understand how those needs are different for different people. Obviously for the Global South, where this is the fastest growing ageing population, again, very different healthcare settings, very different cultures. So it's really important, both as research and as innovation, that we really do have detailed understanding of some of the challenges, and of course have that really genuine global dialogue and exchange about what works, what is different for different contexts, because it's in our interest to make sure that people across the world, wherever they are, have the best opportunity to live happier, healthier, longer lives. So I'm delighted to have the panelists today, and we're going to be talking a little bit about, how we can innovate for impact, because one of the real strengths that's come through today is about that agenda for action and that agenda for making products and services into people's lives that is really making that kind of lasting difference. And, they've got two fabulous panelists with loads of experience of innovation and of working very closely with businesses, big and small, to make sure that we've got those businesses in place. So Danielle, just could you start us off and just, perhaps a couple of minutes just to tell us a little bit more about you, where you're from, and a little bit about the work that you do.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Okay. Sorry, I was just getting some feedback. This is really wonderful to be here with all of you. It is 8 a.m. where I am, so if the bar happens right after this session, that's pretty fun. I'm actually talking to you from Las Vegas. So I run an organization called Agency, Worldwide Innovation for Living Longer and Aging Better. And we see innovation as optimism. We look for solutions that, as we say, are designed for joy, not for shame. We look for solutions that solve for possibilities, not just problems. And we look for solutions that blend high touch with high tech so that you have customer empathy built into the core of the product, but also with the tech and the business models that can scale to millions of customers. So we work closely with startups and innovators who are just coming onto the scene and helping them connect with the larger companies that do have the resources and reach, as well as government agencies, NGOs, nonprofits, who really do have the mandate to help broad populations live better as we age. So this work takes us around the world. Clearly, we see incredible ideas coming out of many, many, many different cities around the world. And, we all operate under different constraints, different payment structures, different insurance infrastructure, clearly. So there's so many challenges to figure out top to bottom. But what we see is that there's a real collegial atmosphere where this is a shared experience that we have, all of us. No matter what industry you're from, what age, what culture, we all want to age as we choose. So it's a pleasure to be here and be part of this conversation. Thank you.
Fantastic, Danielle. Thank you. And I really value the work that you do. And so, Nayara, could you tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing in Spain?
Okay, as you said, I'm an advisor at the Cabinet Office of the Government of Biscay, and I am head of the Nagusi Intelligence Center. And what is Biscay and what is the Nagusi? So I'll just give you some insights about that. Biscay is one of the 3 provinces of the Basque Country, which is one of the 17 communities in Spain. We are in the north of Spain. And we have a region, small one, with 1.2 million inhabitants, and nearly half of those, 44%, they are 50 plus. We have a high, like our life expectancy at birth, it's 83.3, and if we take a look at women, we have 86 years. With a life disability-free life expectancy of 61 years at birth, and 15 years when we reach the age of 65. The estimations say that by the year 2030, will be like half of the population in Biscay will be 50 plus. So with that scenario, the government of Biscay decided to start up this center in order to boost all the economic and social opportunities that are around the needs of the aged population. So in the Nagusi Center, Nagusi in Basque means aged person or senior person, right? It's an ecosystem of entrepreneurs, businesses, knowledge agents, and students that we aim to do the same thing, which is provide good responses to the needs. And we are focusing our activity in 5 main axes. The first one is creating and offering at the NIC specialized training. We have developed 2 different masters, one in entrepreneurship for the silver economy, another one in artificial intelligence. And we are also focused on creating this entrepreneurial ecosystem, right? So we have a space for startups, entrepreneurs, and we're also trying to develop business with leading companies, existing one, and trying to convince those who are not in the market to get into the market. And we are developing data intelligence. And the 5th axis of activity has to do with knowledge creation and dissemination. That's what we are essentially doing.
Fantastic, fantastic. And I mean, one of the things you mentioned, Danielle, is about the different paying systems. And, what are the biggest challenges that you're seeing in terms of, for example, long-term care in the States?
Yeah, so it's challenging because we have many startups that enter this space, full of optimism and possibility that they could service customers at every part of the income spectrum. Quickly, unfortunately, they find out that a lot of people cannot pay out of pocket and insurance cannot cover. So there becomes then this notion to have your solution reach different barriers of proof. So one is, does your solution have efficacy for entire risk populations? So maybe it helps one small population, but does it help enough of a population so the insurance companies start to, consider that to be part of their portfolio? Part of that gate might be then, well, does it have clinical benefits? So then you have to, go through clinical trials and have lots of studies to prove that there truly is an impact that can be measured. So these are expensive propositions, and it's difficult to get, large enough populations to test. So Lynn, the work that you do with voice is so crucial. So thank you. A lot of folks just say, but, my parents are having a better day. Like, why can't that be good enough? So we're also seeing such a shift in the notion of even what is retirement and how long does your money need to last? And so the business models around entering long-term care and having to sort of like forego, your savings is really under a lot of scrutiny. And there's a lot of interesting business models about different ways to live in congregate care housing that offers a lot more choice. So it's a moving target. But we're seeing a lot of demand from not only the residents who are moving into long-term care, but their family members. Their family members are deeply involved in the decision-making and want to have a lot more control.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point as well, because what we find a lot in the UK, obviously, it's often the children of older people who are the real consumer, the real customer, if you like. And so that's a real challenge for businesses and for innovators to understand that actually, you know, that they have a different kind of dialogue at different stages. And what about for you? Is that similar in terms of, you know, that particular area that Danielle mentioned about working longer? Is that something that you've particularly been innovating around?
What do you mean? I didn't get the answer.
When you're sort of looking at some of the big challenges around working longer,
okay.
Is that something that you've got
It
businesses
is,
in that space?
It is a challenge, yeah, and like, I mean, workforce participation, and it's a key, and we've heard it today many times. There's this big issue of the great retirement, and how we're going to close that gap, and that's an issue for sure.
Yeah. And I think it's come through, you know, a lot in terms of what is real strong about the Healthy Aging Grand Challenge is it had all of that spectrum of activity. So you went across the sectors, as George said at the beginning, to cover pretty much everything. So Danielle, what trends are you seeing in healthy aging innovation? What are the next big thing to look out for, particularly in age tech?
Yeah, so what's really fascinating is, back to the other conversation about senior living, what we're finding is a lot of the operators are looking towards these innovative products and solutions to differentiate, you know, their campus from other campuses. So do they have high-tech solutions that keep family members and the residents in touch with one another? Do they have much better, you know, dashboard management systems in place so that, you know, mom or dad are not like left alone in their room unattended for extended periods of time? Do they have really beautiful like activities for the residents that really do elevate their mood and their brain function and you know, their overall health and well-being? So we're seeing senior living operators being pretty, you know, pretty enthusiastic takers of innovative ideas now that we're past sort of the, you know, the darkest times of the pandemic. At least one outcome is that a lot of the operators are now have become a little more technology enabled than they were prior to the pandemic, if nothing else, just to, you know, improve their connectivity. We're also seeing senior living operators sort of disaggregate their services and offer them off campus into the communities, because they realize, at least in this country, you know, not everybody wants to move out of their home that they've, you know, loved in their community and move into a campus environment. And so how do senior living operators get these innovative services kind of out into the community? So it's driving a lot of creative, just a, you know, a creative deployment. And it's also surfacing what the unmet needs are. You know, somebody who needs a little help with cooking, a little help with maybe walking about or getting to appointments, you know, isn't necessarily ready, reach the threshold to move into, you know, assisted living. So if there's a way to really meet people, you know, where they are in their aging journey and have a whole portfolio of integrated and innovative solutions, you know, we can keep people like where they want to live for as long as they want.
Do you feel that the innovators that you work with how are they inclusive in their approach? Do you know what I mean? You know, you mentioned about sort of, we test products and services all the time with people in their own homes, test wearables, sensors and so on. Is that something that you are also able to do?
Yeah, so, you know, inclusivity, it's kind of like concentric circles of inclusivity. So certainly, you know, the innovators do a beautiful job, like making sure there's diverse populations that are part of their test communities. And if they don't, you know, we try to help them connect with those populations. But then, you know, we still have the barriers of just broadband access. And so, you know, it isn't equally distributed around the country between the urban and rural areas. So we're now starting to see, wonderfully, some of the big telecom providers coming into this space through the lens of, you know, aging and age-friendly cities and communities. They're seeing a huge opportunity for the home hospital movement. So as we see more sophisticated technologies, wanting to, be at home for diagnostics and monitoring and, very sophisticated sort of, medical devices, the telecom operators are paying attention, and they realize we have to, get more bandwidth to the homes. We have to have a lot more cybersecurity, a lot more access. So I think, we're starting to see some of these trends sort of converge so that the bigger players are starting to put more resources into the infrastructure and helping the individual innovators have that platform to succeed and to reach more people.
Yeah, no, I think that's true, and I think the both the Age-Friendly City and the National Centre, we work on longevity cities with Stanford in terms of understanding that actually so much that we've discussed today, it isn't about just for older people, as important as that is. It is also about making sure that environments are great for everybody, and that from a 6-year-old upwards, we're able to kind of build a lot of this opportunity for activity, blue spaces, green spaces into our cities, and there's just an enormous amount of opportunities for innovators in that space. So to really a question to you both, but perhaps Nayara first, is what are the opportunities that you see for this market for healthy aging?
Okay, the opportunities I see, they are related to the challenges actually, right? So we've mentioned employment and workforce participation, but there's also a great opportunity with regards to connectivity, not only the physical connectivity and social connectivity, but also everything that has to do with digital connectivity. And there's an issue with do we have access to the gadgets and infrastructures? Do we have the skills, and do we have the willingness to use those, right? Because that's an issue when it comes to aged persons or aged people. Sorry. Another challenge and another opportunity also, it's designing age-friendly homes and neighborhoods, right, and cities. And in that sense, we need, and we're working on that at home as well, we need to homes that can control for things like safety, that they are energy efficient, that they are affordable, etc., right? There's a big thing and a big challenge, and we are working on that as well here at home, here not at home, sorry, in the Basque Country, in my region, which is home supporting better homes that can be the center for health and social care, right? Mm-hmm. Because there's a lot of evidence that says that that's going to release a lot of pressure on the system. And for example, in Spain, but especially in this case, we have developed this transition long-term care plan with different tractor projects. One of those is to put the technologies at home and link the homes of people who are dependent or they have carers, right, to the day centers, so they can be monitored, and they are using wearables, they get training, so they are connected, and it's a way of reaching to that scenario where you have homes supporting better health and better care, right? Another challenge and another opportunity for us and for the whole sector, obviously, it's the readiness of the cities, in the sense that they have to be well structured, facilitating access, having green spaces, and providing the conditions so healthy aging takes place. And here, mobility and security are key issues, right? They are priorities that everybody has in mind. Another big challenge and another big opportunity is how are we going to pay this? How are we going to finance this? Not only as per citizens, but also as a public provider, right? And I have that in mind because I actually work for the government, so we have to think of these kind of things, right? And it's come in the conversation during the day, ageism, engagement, and purpose. This is a crucial thing. I agree with one of the speakers that was saying that from the public policy making, we have a big to do, that is that putting that in the agenda, and we have it in our list. So in that sense, a big to do. But it's important also to that older adults get that meaningful and engaged with the whole system, and that's very difficult to do.
It is, and I think that kind of, I think Danielle, you mentioned, which is something very close to our heart, about the end-to-end ecosystem, because we very much look at kind of almost healthy longevity as a service in terms of people need choice and different products and services as they move through the life course, and they need a lot of products to kind of have that interoperability, which isn't always the case. You often see fantastic products, but there's no business model behind how you pay for it. Is that something that's similar in the States?
Oh, absolutely. And you look at, who in the ecosystem is helping to connect all of those products and services on behalf of the actual consumer. And, so much of it falls on the family members, if you're lucky, or the caregiver. And so we're starting to see a shift in elevating the role of caregiver with love and grace, and starting by just kind of, burnout scales. There's this beautiful organization called Archangels, and they've deployed this care intensity index just to find out, like, where are people in that if the caregiver burns out, well, then now you've got a exponential problem from that particular family. So we're seeing employers get involved. We have a very robust organization, the Caregiver Coalition in Massachusetts, where the largest employers across the state, along with the government, are trying to figure out what are the appropriate benefits that they can offer their working people who are, essentially having another full-time job at home caring for parents and family members. And then from the other direction, we're seeing lots of innovators coming in and providing training platforms for caregivers so that they at least have more confidence in the work that they're doing and building skills. And what that is doing is leading to a new concept of careers in this space. We got to love on our caregivers because they really provide, the essential infrastructure for everything that we're talking about, the high touch care, but also, bringing all of these ideas into the home or the senior living, communities. So, we're seeing a lot of other innovators saying, well, how do we allow caregivers to do better matchmaking, to help with their shifts, to help, elevate the work that they're doing. So I think that if we look at kind of the ecosystem from the point of view of the different stakeholders and the roles that they are playing, how do they have access to the resources they need and connect with, the other resources to really create a more wholesome products and services.
Absolutely, and again, from the Healthy Aging Grand Challenge today, there's just been so many examples of some fantastic, imaginative, creative innovations which are massively helping people. And I was struck in just the last session, Danielle, we were talking about the fitness and leisure industry, and I've got the pleasure of working with Misfit at the moment, with Chimera and Ida Sports in terms of with Exeter University, around sort of everything from the insoles you can put in your shoes to smart leggings, which can actually start to really help people to understand, what exercise they need to do, where they might be at risk of injury, so they can adapt. And I mean, there's just so much imagination that's out there, and that's one of the joys of this. I mean, when I visited you, you had some amazing examples that you were working with. I mean, tell us a little bit about some of the fantastic innovations that you're currently working with and what impact they're making.
Yeah, so and I love it too, Lynn. So thank you, because I think the more that we bring creative people together in shared workspaces and through events like this, where we're giving people more exposure. I mean, here I am in Vegas, right, at an age tech conference inside the health conference. And in January, we're going to be at CES with a 7,000 square foot booth showcasing dozens and dozens of innovations. And I think to the extent that we could show more and expose more, it's going to get more and more innovators excited to join us in this work. So one of the solutions that we're showcasing right now is a Labrador Retriever. Do you guys do the Roomba, like, floor sweeper robot? So these folks have kind of said, well, how do we have assistive robots in the home that aren't necessarily trying to pretend like they're a person, but that they actually assist somebody? Like, it can go around and grab the laundry basket, so then you can sit and fold the laundry. It can sit there and bring all the dishes to the table, so you can set the table. So if you're somebody who has mobility issues, you can still have a dinner party for your family. The robot is now going to be connected to sort of smart dispensers for the meals and the medication. So a caregiver can come in the morning, set up trays of meals and meds, spend some quality time. But then throughout the day, the robot can go and grab that meal or that med and bring it to the person who may be in another room sitting in, on their couch enjoying their shows. So, like finding these innovations that just tap into the way a person lives. We're seeing like a real uptake for that. I think the first generation of innovations were a lot, and they still are, around like surveillance in the home. Like, all right, let's trick out the house with a lot of videos and, monitoring, like, is the person up? Have they eaten? Are they, in bed? Are they, so forth. And those are all important, and we need more of that. I think our next generation is all about, all right, let's like help you do the things that you want to do. And we're seeing great, I love that you mentioned the fitness and leisure. We're seeing beautiful applications with VR, helping people imagine traveling together into, far off places, but they're traveling with a cohort of friends that maybe they can't, visit for tea in person, but they certainly can have a friendship and a relationship with. So innovations that have kind of a twofer, they help you do something you want to do, and they connect you with a broader community of people. Those are the innovations I think that are going to be sticky for the long term and really help elevate everybody's, quality of life.
Couldn't agree more. And I think what we're seeing as well a lot of the time is that, whereas before there was quite a functionality to products and services, often from care in terms of helping with assisted living, etc. Whereas there's a real movement now towards really fun experiences, as we understand that people are wanting to live later life better than ever before. They're wanting to kind of really kind of enjoy life to the full. And so that's opening up for innovators, a whole spectrum of new opportunities. And again, the transformational effect of technology that can have. There's a question, please do put your questions in the chat. There's a couple of questions here from Anna about, we've talked a lot about some examples from Spain and from the US, but what can the UK learn from different international experiences about how to promote healthy aging? And, for you, is this a priority for governments and businesses that you work with? I mean, perhaps Nayara first.
Yeah, it is. It is a priority. Actually, in the Basque Country, we have this similar challenge to the one you have here in the UK, and we are trying to achieve like 5 years of disability-free life expectancy by 2030, and for that we are focused in 5 specific challenges, which are understanding, as Professor Harper was saying, the thing is that we have to understand how aging happens in order to kind of delay or prevent or put some policies and things in there, right? The second thing is to improve health and social care, but knowing the needs. In that sense, in Biscay, because the starting point is understanding the real local needs, and we have done a survey, we're doing it, we have the results coming now, 3,500 surveys in a very comprehensive questionnaire with 110 questions, 12 dimensions. So we are focused on understanding what's going on in our region, because with that we can provide a proper response, right? Otherwise it's like talking about the evidence somewhere else or whatever. We need to have information on our place. The third one is promoting community, social and cultural environments based in needs, again. The fourth one is promoting the inclusion and engagement and participation of the seniors. And the fifth one is promoting the silver or the longevity economy by engaging the producers of the offer side, giving responses to the needs, not to the things they think that they're going to work, but making that reality check. So otherwise it's a waste of time, of money, and of opportunities.
Absolutely, because it's not just about needs, it's about wants and aspirations, as we've mentioned several times. And Danielle, what do you think we can do to really support kind of international collaboration and connection between the UK and the work that you do and the networks, because to really kind of, really leverage that this is a real global opportunity?
Yeah, thank you, Lynn. So just a couple months ago, actually, we hosted a pitch fest featuring many of the brilliant PhDs that are going through your program, the UKRI program. And that to me was, a moment that really demonstrates the value of this cross-global collaboration that we can do, so that, you know, you've got folks from your universities, they're doing amazing work, and then trying to have a foothold in the US market to meet maybe a technical co-founder or operations co-founder who can take that idea, turn it into the bedrock for a sustainable company, and then create the connections and the introductions with stakeholders around the ecosystem who can really, you know, help those ideas flourish. So I think the more that we could create those connections and those trusted networks, that's what's really going to help. Because again, you know, this is such an evolving, moving field, and you know, innovations that are being designed for current 80-year-olds are going to need to be very different for, you know, the millennial years will be turning 50. You know, so, you know, we here talk about like 50 plus is sort of the beginning of when you start marketing to older adults, but 50 plus right now is a very different consumer than 80 and 90 plus, clearly. So I think also, you know, broadening our perspective of who the company is and who the innovators are to do making this relationship building, that's going to carry us through the long term.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't put it better. And I think as well, we're seeing increasing citizen demand for products, because obviously with the internet, with kind of you know, marketplaces like Amazon opening up a lot of this, that actually people are saying, you know, this looks really exciting. I've seen this in Singapore, in Australia, in the States, and you know, I would like this in my life. So actually, it's not just about you know, governments, businesses kind of putting opportunities. It's also there's increasing citizen demand, which is really, really exciting. So final question to you both really is kind of, you know, what really excites you about innovation, you know, that we can really take forward, and perhaps, you know, is there anything that you've spotted in the UK that really interests you that we could take forward?
For me, from the research point of view, and I think that reinforcing research and having stakeholder collaboration, it's a key thing, right? And I've seen some good programs that you've mentioned. For example, the trial, let's see if I can pronounce it properly, Trailblazers. Yes. There you have like a good collaborative approach, because you have like leading businesses and small medium enterprises with with a multi-sectoral approach, which is very interesting. Also the Catalyst prizes, I think, because it's inspirational in terms of innovation, and for those who are in earlier stages, it might be inspirational, okay? And of course, from the engagement point of view, voice is a good example. And taking your previous question, I'd say that with regards to collaboration between countries or regions or whatever, it is crucial to have open conversation of what it means, actually what it means, like, what is it? How do you implement that in reality? We were having this conversation earlier before. What does it mean in terms of costs, but not only costs, economic costs, but how do you do it? I mean, because many of the times you will not waste the time, but you get lost in transition, understanding policies, programs, etc. But I think the right thing to do is to sit down and see, how are you doing it? Can you help me? Does it make sense to do it in my local place? That's my point of view.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a question, Daniel, which I think, you know, put to you as well as Nayara, about picking up that point about the different business models. And obviously we want products and services to be sustainable. But, you know, what do you see as new business models that can really help to, you know, support sustainability of products and services, and sustainability in more general?
Yeah, I mean, business model innovation is almost as important sometimes as product innovation. What we're seeing here is this move towards more subscription services, again, because, you know, our aging journey is an evolving set of needs. So, you know, folks don't necessarily want to commit big money up front. You know, what if this doesn't meet my needs, you know, a year from now, whatnot. So we're seeing a lot of innovators trying out like subscription models where you can add services along the way. Certainly our Medicare Advantage programs here in the States with capitated reimbursement strategies. There's kind of a little bit of a forcing mechanism for companies to really demonstrate, cost-effective, measurable solutions. So, but also what I'm loving is like these business models that account for multiple generations. So you can have almost multiple checkboxes of value. So a lot of intergenerational programs matching, young students with older adults, maybe as reading buddies, or taking it to the next level, actually having a primary school on campus of a senior living campus. So now you have real long-term relationships that can be, that can benefit both generations. We're seeing the converse. We're seeing senior living opening up on college campuses, and so that residents of the senior living are required to take classes. So sitting alongside college students, and so that puts seniors in an atmosphere of growth, as well as students in an atmosphere of empathy. So I think business models, certainly from a financial standpoint, there's a lot more work to be done there to make sure that the economics work. But I also think that business models that expose more people throughout their entire life to this notion of, just beautiful aging. So aging consumer isn't like this segregated cohort that's over there that maybe one day, we'll start paying attention to, but business models that are more tightly integrated with, many other solutions that need to be out there.
And it's clearly it's an area where there is work to be done. It's emerging, but it's just, I'm every day from the National Innovation Centre for Aging. We're privileged to work with hundreds of businesses, and the imagination, the creativity, the talent that is locked in our businesses and our innovators is just amazing. And then, of course, in citizens themselves and older people who have so many ideas and so much wisdom and knowledge. And when you bring the two together, magic can happen. And I'm very, very optimistic that we're in a great place between kind of working internationally to bring amazing products and services that will make such a difference to people's lives in the future ahead. So thanks so much. I'm conscious, I did say at the start though, I was between you and the bar, and I'm conscious of time. So we will sort of end it there. Danielle, join us for a virtual drink. But thanks so much for a fantastic discussion. There are a couple of other questions which I will invite the panelists to go back to. But just thank you very much to Danielle in the States for a fantastic discussion and some great insights, and also to Niara as well from Spain. But I hope you've enjoyed the discussion, and it's one that I'm sure we could take forward into the bar, as I've mentioned several times.